G'day everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Battleforge Gaming Podcast, presented by General Games.
Lucky podcast.
Lucky number 13.
Yep.
As always, I'm joined by BFG Justin,
How we doing, guys?
and today we've got our very special guest, Maddie's Minis. Welcome, Maddie.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm just like fanboying over
Yeah,
here.
a little bit as well. So, yeah, for those of you joining us today, Maddie's Minis is one of our favorite painters. So to have him on the show is unbelievable for us. And if you don't follow him, definitely go check out his Instagram because there's some crazy stuff on there.
You know what?
Absolutely
You know what
crazy.
people should do as well after they follow Matt.
Yes. Or right now,
Yeah.
if you can remember to like and subscribe because I'm going to forget, that would be fantastic. That always helps the show, helps grow our audience, and gets that community bigger. So, as usual,
Good housekeeping. Well done.
yeah. Thanks for the reminder. How's everyone doing? How have you been last 2 weeks, Justin? I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you in 2 weeks.
Nah, it's weird. It is actually weird. For people that don't know, Mike and I used to work together for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So we saw each other every day. So
And then we hobbied.
Yeah. To not see him for 2 weeks is a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, good. Finished the nids off. You can see them on the tabletop here. So they're done. 45 days worth of painting for 3 hours. And the nids are all ready for DreamHack, which is a huge, huge stress. Done. Gone. Don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. That's
So-
a good note as well. For anyone in Australia that's interested in going to DreamHack, we're going to be there.
Is this a segue again?
Yeah, you've teed me up beautifully. So we're going to be at DreamHack April 26th to April 28th, and tickets are on sale now. I think they've got some early bird passes left.
It's half price.
Yeah, for the whole weekend.
Yeah. $50 for 3 days. It's pretty you don't hear that nowadays.
Yeah, for all your gaming and Battleforge gaming content.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Yeah, we're going to be there all weekend, every day,
I'm
Friday,
excited.
Saturday, Sunday.
Nothing could possibly go wrong there whatsoever. It's the first time we're going to try doing a lot of stuff live at a big event.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll all go smoothly.
Yeah, so we're going to have the podcast there.
Yep.
We're going to do a live podcast at DreamHack. We're going to do some introduction to paint classes.
Yeah. So think if you go into Games Workshop and they give you a little crash course on painting a Space Marine model, that's what it's going to be like. It's not going to be like you turn up and I'll teach you how to edge highlight.
Yeah.
If I've got time, maybe I will, but it's just going to be a very intro paint class.
Yeah. And it's going to be run by the BFG community and supplied by the good people at General Games.
It is. Yeah.
So it's a holy BFG General Games collab.
Holy Trinity.
Yeah. It's going to be good. And then yeah, like you said, the battle reports as well. So that'll be completely new for us.
Yep.
But like you said, nothing could go wrong.
No, it'll go perfectly.
I don't think we've had any technical difficulties
Never.
so far. So
Not once. We
Not
haven't
once.
had a swearing reel on repeat for a minute.
nah,
We've
not that you
never
can find anymore anyway.
never had a guest not have audio across the other side of the world.
Yeah. Nah. None of those ring a bell.
Professionals.
So what are you working on at the moment if DreamHack's all good to go?
Back on the Blood Angel train. So I want to get stuff ready for our battle reports because it's just going to take a lot of work to get that stuff ready. So I'm just painting up Blood Angel after Blood Angel. And I recently started Assault Centurions. I wanted to paint them in Blood Angel's colors for such a long time because I don't know if people remember when Centurions first came out, the alternative Space Marine chapters couldn't take them. So Space Wolves couldn't take them, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, maybe Death Watch couldn't take them. But now all Space Marines can take them. So Blood Angels. I haven't seen them painted as Blood Angels before, so it'll be exciting having
Blood Angel Centurions.
Blood Angel Centurions, Assault Centurions. They're going to put in some work.
All right.
That's what I've been up to, pretty much. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Matt, how have you been? You had a good couple of weeks?
I've had a good couple of weeks. Yeah.
Seen you've just finished the Desolators, was it?
Yes, I built and paint 2 desolators.
Shall we show them off?
I think we can show them off. Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Yeah. So that's number 3 and 4 if you want to pull those up. Gonna get you a sneak peek of some of Maddie's minis finished models.
Dang, look at that. I'm a tech wizard.
Look at that.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. So how long did that model take?
Oh, a long time. But not as long as it would have taken if I didn't paint 2 at the same time. So that's new for me. That's a whole batch of 2 Marines in one go. But they both took me about a month.
Yeah.
No, that's
didn't
not
want to go with the OG.
the OG.
The original Desolator poses.
Like I think there's mixed feelings.
I don't know if
about
there's
those.
too many mixed feelings about
Not
them.
that mixed. I think it's pretty one-sided
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
feelings.
Yours look
for
amazing
those.
though. So good.
But when they came out, I mean, yeah, you could see the comments and about them, and like I saw them and I thought, oh, there's something I can do with them. They're not. They're savable. I can save them. I can and I'm not gaming with them, so I can do anything I want with them. I can go to town. So I've had in my mind to do these that way for a while.
Since they came out.
Since they came out, yeah. But I love painting Gravis armor, Gravis Marine. I don't know. There's something about the armor plate and the design of it. It's just fun to paint. So I get to paint Gravis, get to build it. But I was kit bashing it and converting it. I think that probably took an extra like 5 or 6 hours to
How many
learn how to do that,
kits? How many kits are involved? Do you reckon?
There's
Looks
the
like quite a
Desolator
few.
kit, and there's the Heavy Intercessor kit, and I think there's like a couple of like
Pieces
I
from
think I grabbed a knife, some
Reavers and
knives,
stuff?
and some grenades from the the infiltrators or something. The Phobos Strike Force. I think that was a good kit. I've still got minis in that pile that I need to finish. That was my first. They were my first Marines that I painted up, like full Marines.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if GW had released them out something closer to that, they would have been a pretty popular model, I think.
Oh, for sure. Well,
they're sick.
the thing is, they're good in game, right? So they're still popular because people want to get them.
Gotcha.
But if you combo that with them looking really good too, then I'm sure the sales would have been even higher. I've got some, the original ones, but it's only because I got the Strike Force Agastus box because I wanted a Brutalis when it first came out. I was like, I need that. So that's the reason I've got Desolators, not because I wanted them,
Yeah.
just because they came in a box.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are you working on at the moment? What's on the hobby table now?
Ooh, new project.
Am I allowed to ask that? Is that a sneak preview?
Oh, no. It's a new project. It's a commission.
Oh, nice.
It's I've already started it, but I think I just have to. It was good because I got to do the base for that at the same time as the Desolators, which made everything faster. So it's my first commission.
Oh, wow.
My
Congrats.
first legit commission. Not that I was working my way up towards being a commission painter. I didn't really have that on the horizon, but I was approached, and it was I had so much respect for this artist. It's another artist on Instagram, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm super keen, and I think when. I mean, I don't know. I've never been a commission painter, but collaborating and working with another artist, I think maybe I'm a bit spoiled.
Yeah.
Like it might be different to commission painting for someone who isn't an artist and just wants a whole big army and just,
Yeah.
maybe
They might not know exactly what they want.
might not share the same love of the brush, but
There could be
But this is a
people out
special
there that
case.
just want a piece though, a Maddie's Minis
Yeah.
piece. They're like, I've seen that captain, the Shrike captain with the 2 knives.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I love that thing. I'd love to just get a display piece because there are people out there that just
collectors
enjoy
Yeah.
display pieces.
Well,
so.
that's what I would be like. I think as a fan, I would just be like, I would like a Blood Angel or something. For example, I want your version of a Blood Angel, and then you just go at it. Like, I wouldn't give you too many pointers or anything like that. I would just be like, I trust you. I love your style.
Well,
Like,
that's the
that's
thing.
the way I look at
If you're
tattooists
getting a
and things like
one-off, if
that.
you're getting a one-off model, you're getting it because Maddie's Minis is painting it. You're not getting it to give you direction. It's
Yeah.
not like a commission army where I guess you're attached to that army and played to it. People want your specific piece.
Yeah, totally.
I guess so. Yeah, if you're chosen as an artist, it's for a reason.
Yep.
That's
100%.
the style I want. So please go ahead and do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, people might not even care what it is as long as it's a piece from you.
Yeah. Well, because I thought it was really interesting in your social media journey. You ran that giveaway. You had a giveaway
Yes.
where you painted. Was it 3? You picked 3 winners.
Yes. Initially, I was going to paint one model, and it just kind of came to me. I thought, I don't know. I was just feeling a bit extra, and I just went, why paint 1 mini when I can paint 3, and give away 3 minis, and then 4 months later,
Yeah.
I'm finished.
Yeah.
No, that they took a while, but yeah, that was.
Was that similar to how you expected a commission to be, where you have, because you took on what they would like. You didn't choose the mini, did you?
There was a choice of 3 minis. The winners got to pick which one they wanted.
Yeah.
Am I showing these off?
And-
We got them?
I don't think so. We've got a couple. Which ones were the giveaways?
There was an apothecary.
No, I don't have that.
There was Azrak,
We got Azra.
Yeah.
and there was a librarian in Terminator.
Oh yeah, I didn't grab that one either. But yeah, this one, which is crazy to me.
Look at that. How good am I at this stuff?
That's because that was one of the giveaway winners.
Yes.
That is unreal. How did I not enter this? That's sick.
Got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, that's so good. So yeah, so you did 3 models to that level for a giveaway, which is sick.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was kind of. I think I was at about like a 5,000 follower giveaway, and it was a it was amazing that I had 5,000 followers, and I think it was just in me to go, oh, I want to give back and
Yeah.
do something cool, and it's no. And I don't need sponsorship, and I don't need to go out and buy things. These were already in my collection, so it's like, hey, here's a piece of me. You can
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah. And I imagine like having one of your models in person would be pretty wild, I would think. Like, especially for anyone that follows your page. Like, yeah, it's very, very cool art, very cool models. And yeah.
I've been showing off on Twitch.
yeah.
The like last 3 nights.
yeah.
It's like, you guys have got to check this stuff out.
yeah.
Promoting the stream. I'm like, we're having on Australia's best Warhammer painter.
No pressure. No pressure at all. I feel fine.
But yeah, so you're taking on a commission now, your first commission
Yes.
ever.
First commission gig.
Yeah. Are you gonna update sort of whips and stuff?
Yeah,
Do you feel weird about that? I know some
I
commission
asked
painters.
permission, and he's totally cool with it.
Cool.
So I think that'll be next on Maddie's Minis. I'll just drop a few whips along the way.
Awesome.
Yes, it's another apothecary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to let the cat out of the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exciting. That's
It
very
is exciting. And yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great fun. The giveaways were a bit of a, let's see if commission painting works for me. It's not really a commission because I wasn't on the clock, but it was
Yeah.
it was something to
Do you think? I mean, obviously, it depends how each commission goes. Is it something you would enjoy doing? Do you think your gut
Um,
feeling?
My gut feeling is that I'd take too long to paint, and no one would ever pay me enough to to take that long to paint anything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not gonna be wrong, but like the top level commission painters, like top tier pros, paint like incredible pieces and would probably do it in like a fraction of the time that I do it. And could probably pump them out, like one after the other, and it would be worthwhile, and it'd be worthwhile to whoever's commissioning it and paying for it. Unless I had those skills to do that,
It is
I
a
don't think
different
I don't think
set of
it's
skills.
worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some guys out there that are very, very good with their airbrush, with their sort of batch painting setup, their systems, which does speed the process up. But we spoke about before we got on the podcast. I'm an advocate for just painting and having it take as long as it takes.
Mm.
And if someone approaches you for a commission and you take 50 hours to paint it and you want to charge 50 hours for the model and the client doesn't want to pay for that, then that's not your client.
Yeah.
And I think that's just how it is.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, yeah, you can't pay for free.
You know what your time's worth.
Yeah.
And you set that value. And if people want to, I guess, barter, then they can, but need to be realistic about your expectations of how long a model is going to take and the skill that you've developed over years of painting to produce those models as well. So, like you said, your time's not free.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
One of your posts is one of my favorites I've seen on Instagram ever. What was it? 23 years or 33 years? What was it?
25 years.
25
I think it was
years.
something like
This
that.
is how people ask how long it took to paint this model. And then you had like 25 years underneath it as a little thing. That's a perfect example. The models that you take 40 hours to paint don't take 40 hours. They take the 40 hours plus the 25 years of painting to get there. You know what I mean? All the experience, all the models you've stuffed up. Like you're talking about melting a Tyrannid. Yeah. Like I'm sure you're going to try and melt a Tyrannid again at some point to try and make it work. But people are paying for that experience of you destroying your models to get to the point where you're at now, where you all of a sudden create an amazingly battle damaged, torn apart Tyrannid because you ruined a bunch before that.
Yeah. 100%.
Mm.
Speaking of your own models, you've teed me up again. Thank you.
Have I? Oh. I'm not even meaning to do these segues.
Before we get into, I'm just grabbing them any chance I can. But before we get into Matt's origin journey and learn more about how he started in Warhammer, I do have a quick reminder that we have a giveaway going at the moment. We're
going back. We're going back to the housekeeping.
Why not? Looping back.
This is like a
This is what
guy.
happens when you put me in the middle.
It's
chair.
like a Guy Ritchie film. We started at the end and now we're going back to the beginning
Yeah.
and then to the middle and then back again.
Yeah. I've got more housekeeping for later as well. Just keep that.
Okay.
No. No. So we are running a giveaway at the moment on Battleforge Gaming. And we're giving away 2 boxes. One's a combat patrol of the winner's choosing, and the other is a Night Questoris box.
On that.
Here we go.
Yeah, on that. And I know we did an ad for it. I don't see why the combat patrol box can't be a Vanguard either for Age of Sigmar.
Okay, cool.
I haven't cleared that with General
Yeah,
Games.
we might need to talk to the sponsors.
I haven't cleared
about
that with General Games, but I don't see why it couldn't be. If you want to do AOS,
Cool.
then yeah, go for it.
Open to AOS. We'll
Yeah.
sort it.
Yeah.
Justin will sort it.
Yeah, I'll pay for it. We'll get it done.
So yeah, to celebrate General Games' new store opening in Churnside Park at the end of this month, we're going to be giving away the 2 boxes. All you have to do to enter is comment on episode 12 and episode 11 of the Battleforge Gaming podcast and like each of those.
Yep.
You can do one or the other,
Do both.
but if you do both,
You're there.
you get 2 entries. So
Just do
just
it.
do both.
And when we are going to draw it, we're going to draw it live on Twitch.
Yes.
So we'll have an updated schedule in our Twitch for when we're going to draw it. And I would highly recommend, if people are entering, to join our Discord, because we will also announce it there, as it'll be hard for us to find you on YouTube and get in contact with you unless you hear us announce you. So there's going to be people, for an example, and I like using Tiny as an example. He's called Tiny the Magnificent anyway. So we'll be able to find that guy. But if your YouTube name doesn't line up with your TikTok name or your Twitch name or your Discord name, we'll announce it and it's going to be hard for us to get in contact with you.
Yeah,
So
it'll be chasing it up on YouTube.
Yeah. Jump in the Discord.
For sure. And then, that's got 2 more weeks on it. So,
Is that 2 weeks away?
yeah, so March 28th is when the last entries close, and that's when we are doing the draw. So March 28th. It's just under 2 weeks, actually. So
Wow.
if you want free models, get on it.
Oh, heads up. We could get a little dog running in here.
Nah, we should be safe.
Nah, you watch. Anyway, let's continue.
That's my revisit to housekeeping. So the man we're here for, Matt,
Origin story.
how did you first get into Warhammer? I have no idea about this, so
Oh.
this is going to be. I'm curious about this.
I was a 10-year-old boy. No. When was it? It was probably like 1990. Was it like 91, 90 or 91? There was, you know, the Mind Game store in the city.
Yep.
It used to be. It was on Swanson Street, but it used to be up near the Curtin House. But Mind Games was like, you know, when I was a kid, I would go to the city and I'd be there with mum and dad, and I'd just be in like heaven. Like there's board games and I didn't know about miniatures, and something caught my eye, and it was a board game box, and it was Space Crusade, and then like the next Christmas or birthday or something, it turned up as a present for me, and so mum and dad had got me Space Crusade as a present. That was my gateway.
yeah.
And that was so cool. That blew my mind.
Did that come with paints and things like that? or
No, it was the board, the cardboard, the paper board, and the plastic sprues. But at this point, I didn't know anything about painting them up or anything. And then I think I was in a newsagent, because now that my mind was open to this stuff and these characters, I saw them in a White Dwarf magazine.
Yeah.
In the newsagent, and White Dwarf's probably the next biggest gateway for most people. And then I just put the two and two together, like, oh, White Dwarf, Space Marines, Games Workshop, miniatures, and it just like blossomed from there.
Yeah.
And it was and I think in the beginning, I started to paint them, and then I think I was in like year 9, like maybe 13 or 14 years old. I had other friends at school that got interested in it, and
From you? Were you
from me,
You're the instigator. We
On
found it.
Primark.
yeah, the bad influence, and then we started trying to play the game. So I bought a copy of Rogue Trader.
Yeah.
Because that was all the rage back then.
Yeah.
that was brand new Rogue Trader back then. And we just tried to teach ourselves the rules, and had these big masonite sheets as the tabletop. So ghetto, so lo-fi, but that didn't. I mean, I think we all just got a bit bored of the games, just as a group.
Were you painting models at the same time? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You were,
I army painted.
yeah.
I army painted.
Damn, this is a whole different Maddie's Minis.
I army painted some Blood Angels.
Damn. What a guy. I knew I liked him for a reason.
Yeah. There was something about me. I had a bunch of plastic Tyranids, the warriors with the 4 arms, and I think there was a box that you could get back then. It was Terminators and Tyranids, and it was, there was the old school Terminators from the old Space Hulk. So yes, painting, playing dropped off, and then at about, I think at the end of somewhere through year 12, like 95, I think the hobby just dropped off, and I just got into like
Girls.
comics and yes, it just wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that was my introduction to Warhammer, and it was really. I mean, I was back then. There was no social media. It was just White Dwarf. I don't know how far back you guys go back in the hobby.
Not that far.
There was no social media. It was just White Dwarf. The only way you could learn how to paint a mini and what they looked like was White Dwarf.
Yeah.
Even when I started, when I was it was 12 years now, 13 years ago, social media was still not pushing hobby that much. Well, there wasn't that many hobbyists on social media.
No.
There was a couple, but it wasn't like what it is now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's back then it was more like people sharing their holiday pics and stuff like that. It wasn't really like a focus point for artists.
Yeah. Yep.
I would say.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there was no community back then. You were a lone silo in your bedroom painting, and with no connection to anybody.
Unless you could like corrupt some of your friends to play with
just
you.
That's it. And then if they deserted you, then you're on your own.
You're on your own. Yeah.
Ringing up the Nottingham warehouse at like 2 a.m. Australian time, phone ordering your metal miniatures by code from the catalog book.
What?
That was like, this is going back. This is like, there was nothing online.
That's good as.
Yeah, and like speaking to some guy some Cockney guy, and like trying to explain what I want. I'm like, no, I'm just a kid, I'm just a 12-year-old. And anyway, that
From
was,
where? Australia.
Yeah.
You want some what, mate? Some Terminators? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Some renegade Chaos Space Marines, and this is, anyway, that's the origin story.
Yeah. How good.
Then the break, and then
A long hiatus.
yeah, then I've come back, and so this was COVID, and a lot of people came back to the hobby in COVID or picked it up in COVID. But my super supportive partner Loz surprised me one day with a bag from Warhammer, and in it was a war suit, the tactical war suit.
Yeah, Invicta.
Invicta war suit, and I was just it was like it all just came flooding back to me, and it blew my mind. And then it sat in a bag for 6 to 12 months because I was stressing about how to paint it, and because I didn't know, I had nothing. I was starting from scratch again. So I did. That was mid 2022.
Okay. Right.
So this isn't that long ago.
This is not that long ago. Mid 2022.
Would you have some advice for people that don't know how to start their painting journey, or are too intimidated to do it? Like you said, it sat in a bag for such a long time.
Yeah.
What was the thing that finally sparked you to be like, I got to build this. I got to start painting this.
I mean, I'm a bit weird with stuff like this. I need to have everything lined up, planned out and ready before I start something. I couldn't just dive into it and see what happens. I'm a bit funny like that. Anyway, so what I did was I hopped on Instagram and followed a bunch of painters. Saved a whole lot of tutorials and YouTube. Just arming myself with just some knowledge before I started. And all the gear too. I didn't know about what I needed. What's a wet palette? What's a Kolinsky brush? I didn't have these when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out what these were. You know, get a gear list together and go. I think this is what I need. I think I'm ready. And that took like 6 months minimum to go. Okay, I think I've got it ready.
Let's
do it.
Did you have any sort of art or creative outlet during the break between like finishing up when you're a kid and picking it back up?
No, I didn't have any kind of hobby outlet.
You haven't been painting any.
Hadn't been painting anything. It just wasn't on my radar. But also because I'm a graphic designer that's my day job.
Yeah.
I'm a graphic designer. I think for a long time I poured a lot of my creative energy into work, and I didn't have enough of it left over outside of work, which I think. I don't know. I think a lot of people in the industry. I don't think that's very. I think a lot of people had a lot of creative outlets in the industry, whether that be art, painting, and. But I would when I wasn't working, I just did not want to do anything creative.
Yeah.
Like, you can draw me a picture. Like, no, I don't want to draw a picture
of
anybody.
It's like me with signs when people are like, "Oh, you make signs. Can you do signs?" I'm like, "Yeah. You can just go through my work. I'm not gonna."
Do you mind just wrapping my car real quick?
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, I'll take it for a
You
week.
can do it. It's a hobby, isn't it? You love it. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I do it because I get paid to do it. All right.
Yeah. That was me. So yeah, no other art outlets.
Yeah. Okay. It's almost like a burnout, like creative burnout, but like, yeah, that's cool that you've now come back to the hobby like that though. It's interesting. I was just curious because the level that you're painting is at doesn't necessarily to me represent someone that's been painting since 2022 kind of thing. Like, what level was your painting at? Would you say?
Again though, and we'll always make the example of him.
Yeah.
84 paints.
Dan.
Oh,
Dan.
There he is again. Shout out to Dan.
Yeah, it's probably the third shout out to Dan.
We're just doing every episode
He'll
now.
end up on a podcast, and then we'll just have to shout out Maddie's minis.
Yeah, I mean, we just reference Matt when Dan's on.
But like, it is such a wild thing to be 2024 and you start in around 2021. That painting journey is still short, and it's a good example for people that are intimidated by how people paint to realize that there are guys in the hobby that haven't been there or back into the hobby for a long time that are painting exquisite models. And like, how often would you paint a day, do you think? Or like on average a week, how much would you paint, do you think?
I was when I was working full time, so up until December, I'd probably only get in maybe 2 to 3 hours a week.
Right. Was it consistent though? You consistency with it? All right, this is blowing all my.
So 2 to 3 hours a week. So I'd probably have like 15, 20 minute, maybe 30 minute like windows where I'd sit down, wet the brush, dry the brush, and that would be it. There'd just be like a little dot on the mini somewhere. I'm like, okay, I'll come back to it in a few more days. And that's why that took a while to paint a mini. But I think it taught me to take my time, and I enjoyed taking my time too. Like getting really stuck on a certain detail. Nothing was rushing me. Didn't have to paint an army. No urgency. So it just took however long it took. But I think maybe it needs. There's a level of patience too. There's a level of like, I would get distracted after 30 minutes. I'd probably of doing that. Like, oh, I've got to do something else, and so I get distracted. But maybe there's I don't know, to stick with a MIDI for that long, for that many days, for a month, before you see the finish of it. I think you do need to be a bit insane to.
I was going to say, yeah, it must be an extra level of discipline to like, because the time frame, the actual like calendar time frame of that model would then blow out if you're only getting to spend a couple of hours each week. So you like the discipline to like trust your process and know that you're going to get it to where you want to get it. It's a very it's very relaxing to hear you talk about it, because it's kind of like a laid back approach. Like, yeah, I just spend whatever time I can spend on it, and then it gets done when it gets done.
It's like painting a fence that just takes like months. You just start at one end and you just it's very it's become really meditative for me. It's
That was my next question.
Where I would paint, and for that session there was just this focus on this quantum realm about this big in my nerdy magnifying glasses, and I didn't have to think about anything else. Everything else just went completely silent.
Yeah.
And that was good for my soul.
Do you have a permanent space now for your model painting and your models and things like that, like a permanent workspace, or is it?
I do.
Yeah.
I have a space set up at home where I work from home as well as paint from home, work from home in the same desk.
Yeah.
And it's slowly, Loz looks at it and just shakes her head, and she can't look at this space for too long. It just gives her a headache.
You got stuff everywhere.
Stuff everywhere. But it's slowly growing. Like there's a boom arm, there's a light thing, and camera, there's a tripod. The Maddie's mini studio is like just off to my shoulder, and the spray booth is just in front of me, and there's my water. So yeah. It's all there.
Yeah. Well, you can probably relate to that. I think your area's grown a bit with all your booms and.
Oh yeah. From what it was early on, where it was just this small little hobby table, probably as wide as the coffee table here.
Yeah, now you got the big L-shaped desk.
Well, that desk is arguably too big. Like it's probably a bit too big, but it's probably better larger than too small. The table
For sure.
which I mean I'll show Matt the studio after this, but
Yeah. So yeah, what level was your?
I told you.
Oh, doggo. It's a IRL raid.
Yeah, a wild Zeta.
Zeta raid. Yeah. So what level was your painting at prior to this renaissance with the hobby? Like, were you just, because you said you were following the white dwarfs and.
The last thing I painted before I stopped probably was I tried to finish a squad of Bloodclaw Space Wolf Bloodclaw Marines.
Yeah.
And what level was that at? I was painting by white dwarf standards, so it was all heavy metal edge highlighting. That was the only style. That was the pinnacle. That was the only style. There was no other style.
Yeah.
It was just heavy metal style. And I did my best. I mean, I wasn't painting. I think back then I thought I was better than what I was.
Yeah. You would have been proud of your work.
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome. And then when I'm looking at this box of minis from the 90s, I'm like, yeah, I should repaint these one day.
Do you still have all of your original ones?
I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the metal ones.
Have you got a photo of your first model you ever painted? Or do you still own it?
I do still have it.
I would love to see it.
That's sick.
There's I don't know if I posted it at the beginning of my Insta journey. I posted a lot of the old models that I found in a box.
I think I've seen
there's
one.
a bunch that are there, and there's one that's like where the face is just a classic like splodge with like two with a giant brush. Like there's my first marine face. But yeah, I do have them. And it's really interesting to look back because everyone starts there. That's where everyone starts. Some gifted people don't start there. Some they but that's where I
They're
start.
the unicorn people, though.
They're unicorn people.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah. But I will. Yeah, I do look at them and want to repaint them.
You want to repaint some of the
I want to repaint them.
originals?
I'm torn between wanting to hold on to that memory of being a, a, a young guy, trying to paint my first miniature, and then going, oh, I could improve on this, but
Yeah.
no.
Would
But
you kit bash? Would you kit bash any of the originals or?
Oh,
Would that be
no.
are they metal?
Yes. So
Yeah.
a lot of them are metal. I've got a Gazkul Thraka metal miniature which got delivered to me by mistake by that guy in Nottingham warehouse. And so I had two Gazguls. I painted up one, and another one is just the original metal just sitting there with mint condition
Yeah.
Gazgul.
That's sick.
I'll paint that up one day. And
It'd
I've
be crazy to have
yeah,
them side by side,
yeah.
wouldn't it?
But I've got the new Gazgul as well.
Yeah.
In my pile. There's a lot in the pile, but I've got the new Gazgul as well. So I'm thinking like, oh, this would be cool to do a little piece on OG versus the new one. I mean, the size difference is huge.
Oh, be crazy.
Yeah, be crazy. But anyway, that's a project for some other time.
Yeah, down the line a little bit.
A few years down the line when I get through the pile.
Yeah. So, with your paint journey, when you came back to the hobby, your style is quite unique. Like we're trying to put a label on it, I guess, almost like there's heavy metal. There's, like you said, there's the golden demon style. And then there's a style in which you paint, which is almost like a realism style. Is that something that you consciously found? Did you say you found someone that painted similar to that, or?
I think when I came back to the hobby, I knew because I'd been lurking on Instagram for so long. I kind of had an idea of what I didn't want to paint, the style I didn't want to paint like, and what I did want, and I think for me, it was going to be, I wanted to learn how to paint volumetric minis, so move away from the heavy metal style and just learn shapes and light and things like that. So the first go back, my first mini back was the war suit. I picked up my old Badger airbrush from the 90s to paint that too. That was a relic that I didn't know still worked, but
It's a testament to that.
Yeah,
that airbrush, isn't it?
Oh, the Badger was just a tank. It's an unkillable machine of brushing of airbrushing. But yeah, so I think that style just kind of came about because I wasn't precise enough for the edges, for that smooth blending of the edge highlights. So I started to I painted some sisters and I thought they looked, they came up better than I thought they would. I noticed that the style, what I was achieving with the brush was a bit more painty, a bit more textured. There were marks everywhere, and I just kind of like called it my shaky brush style, which was just a bit erratic.
Yeah.
And then I found a lot of artists that used grime and grimdark artists. So I started incorporating those effects and techniques.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of organically grew. Like what I was left with was something just a bit more realistic, and it wasn't slick and smooth and precise Golden Demon, and it wasn't highly blended edge highlights. It just was a real style, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to stick with this. I can do this. This is more my thing. I can put a dot somewhere and go, oh, that's just a a specular highlight that's meant to be there.
Just putting up some of his work so people can see what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did this model come about? Because I haven't asked you about
Oh,
this one yet.
I was approached by 40 Cake. I don't know if you know the 40 Cake account.
40 cake.
40 Cake. And he has this, he has a homebrew chapter called the, oh, now it's just escaped my mind.
You had it. What was the name? Of it?
Angels
Angels
of
of
Soul.
Soul.
Angels of Soul. Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that.
That's all right. I'll go you back.
So the Angels of Soul, and so he had he hosted a competition, and I painted this for the competition. This is this I kit bashed from Iron Father
Ferris.
yeah, and just the generic Tech Marine. I didn't like the Tech Marine's pose. He had a strange.
The strut forward.
Yeah, I get funny about certain poses from GW, but and I didn't, and I saw, and I didn't want Iron Father to. I didn't like his pose where he's holding the two-handed thing too, because I just wanted to open it up.
Yeah.
And so it just came about. The two came together. He's got an axe that's been joined in 4 different parts just to get that pose.
Yeah. So how much is involved in sort of the reposing and that you do typically?
This one took me ages. It just took an unusually long time to get right. I think I was hacking away at it for days, and I wouldn't normally spend that long. I think I got stuck and just tried to fix bits of it, and that's why it took so long. But how long? I don't know. How long? Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to. I'm not a good sculptor. One day maybe I will be, but I'm not a good sculptor. So I tend to just choose the parts that I know will work with the least amount of sculpting. So I think maybe that can take some time too to kind of locate the parts.
Yeah. Are you trying to stick to pre-made parts, or are you doing a bit of your own sculpting as well?
No, the most sculpting I've ever done was just more recently, just making straps and wraps around bits. I think that was an easy entry point into rolling out putty and getting it to the shape I want. So beyond that, I have no skills beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something you'll probably try to grow as part of your arsenal of?
Yeah. I mean, there are so many accounts, so many artists that do it well, and I just every time they pop up on my feed, I just think, man, if I had that superpower, what the things I think I'm limited by that. So I'll build something or think of something based on what I can do, and if I could do that, if I could just sculpt anything I wanted,
yeah,
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would.
Have you delved much into third-party sort of 3D printed parts or anything like that, or?
I have a few boxes at home of parts of third-party parts.
Yeah.
And I haven't started to make use of them. I really want a 3D printer. I'd love to be able to invest in that, because the more I look, the more sculptors and bits and parts are out there that I just want. And they're all in Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't have a printer, so I guess I could order. I could download STLs and find printers locally to do that. I haven't looked around. I haven't shopped.
Yeah. If you got one, it'd be dangerous. It'd be a lot of work going into that printer.
Yeah. I mean, that was ideally I'd have a printer next to, on my desk.
Yeah.
But
sure, you need it for graphic design.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something that I need it for work. What can
That's what I thought
Yeah.
instantly. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so going back to your paint style, you've painted a lot of the revelers, is it? The
Revilers.
revilers,
Yeah.
revilers
I think that's
faction.
how you say it. Yeah.
Is that's a sub?
Revilers makes so much more sense. I've been calling them revelers for so long, and
I
I'm
just,
like,
yeah, I just
I'm
call
like,
them
oh, why
revelers.
these go like a reveler goes to like a music festival or something? Maybe
Reveler.
Yeah, don't you
reviler.
yeah.
A reviler makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that a faction you consciously work on to grow, or
I think so. I didn't. I mean, at the start, I picked them because they were grey. I thought I could do something with the grey, like just my own little take on them. I was super inspired by another artist. They're Golgoth 17, who does raptors, like
oh, that's
the most awesome raptors. So that style heavily influenced me.
they've
and
always got
yeah.
the grenade straps across the
Yeah.
chest. They're kitted to the max those
a
ones.
lot of custom bits and sculpting there, which
Yeah.
is like such huge inspo. So that went in. So I wanted to pick a chapter that I could go, no, this is the one I wanted to do, and it's not like the big, it's not one of the big 5 or the big 6. So it's just something obscure. Not many people paint them. I can do what I want with them, and semi homebrew them. Like,
Yeah.
I want their chest to be white, and I can do whatever I want with them.
Yeah,
Like,
you're not going to cause too much
yeah,
uproar.
no one's gonna worry. Like Reviler, I've never seen Reviler. If they got a white chest, yeah, cool. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I was just like, oh, that must be what they look
Yeah.
like.
So they're grey, they're cool, and I can do whatever I want with them. That's it. That's the only reason I'm doing them. But their little badge was hard to find. Their chapter icon was hard to find as a decal.
Yeah. How did you go about that? Is that something? Where are you going, little pup? I might just scoot her out of here quickly.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, Zates. Yeah, I got you.
She just wants to be with all the people.
Is
Even-
her
even
name
if it's hot.
Zeta?
Zeta, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no way. My I think one of my first pets as a kid was a German Shepherd called Zeta, and no one had that name. No one.
That is the second time I've heard that name.
Yeah,
So
I've
that is
never
Zeta.
heard that name before. I mean, she's kind of a German Shepherd, like
She's
colorings.
Yep.
Colorings wise,
Yeah,
pretty
little-
close.
Pretty
little bit.
close to a German Shepherd. But
Yeah.
Zeta, that's spun out. That's awesome.
She's also an excellent police dog. No,
best-
I can't imagine.
Best sniffer dog going around, that one.
Yeah, so the revelers,
Oh, yeah,
revilers,
yeah.
revilers. Sorry, instantly you've corrupted me now.
I haven't corrupted you. You came in saying though. No,
Yeah,
actually,
I
it
may
might
have-
have been.
no,
it was probably me.
The revilers.
The Revilers.
So yeah, so you've kind of made them your own, put your
Yeah.
own spin on them.
And I couldn't find the chapter icon. It was a sideways skull. I'm sure it's somewhere online, and but I thought, no, there's heaps of front-on skulls. They're on every transfer sheet you get with every box of Marines. So I'll just use that and freehand the lightning bolts around it. That'll be my homebrew tweak to the chapter.
Yeah,
Not the side skull, the front skull.
yeah. So if you see revilers with a front
yeah,
skull,
it's me. Yeah,
It's
me.
Maddie's
It's
Minis.
Maddie's Minis.
that's awesome. And speaking before the podcast, you said that you were always conscious about putting your own personal touch and your own spin on a model. Do you take that to every individual model? Is that something you're like trying to
I
have a signature almost?
I think I do. I think what it is, I'll pick up a model from a kit and just straight away just look at the pose and go, am I happy with this pose? And if it's anything from like, no, I think his arm should be, up instead of down, and I think, I think if I want some kind of action or something, and there's always something that I'm just not
Definitely,
okay with.
I definitely can relate to that type of stuff.
Mm.
I've done the same thing with the command squad for the Space Marines. There's a guy with a bolt gun and he's just got a robotic arm, and I'm like, man, this pose is just I don't like it whatsoever. And then there's the company champion, and it's very hard, I think, for sculptors to create a nice two-handed pose with a sword. Like, it's a very hard pose to achieve. But like you were saying about your Iron Father Ferris that you kit bashed, I wanted to open the pose up because you hide so much of the like the cool details on the chest and the Aquila, and I wanted to have all that shown off. So I end up doing some kit bashing stuff too, just because there's little bits on certain models that I'm not happy with.
Is it something you think anyone can achieve? These reposings,
For
I
sure.
think absolutely, because the reposing could be anything from just the slightest twist of an arm, and you've made sense to you. Like if it doesn't make sense to you out of the box, make it make sense. If it's just it's like, oh, he's just finished a swing with his sword, axe, whatever. Shouldn't his arm be like pointing this way? And and then you go and do it in your living room and go, oh yeah, that's how I would swing at the head with an axe. And like, oh, then that's how it should be. Not the. I think the sculptors of the box art have a brief, and it's, make it look good on the box art like this, and it's a nice heroic pose, but it doesn't always make sense from a physics perspective. And if you're like me, you just look at it and you go, oh, it just doesn't make sense. I've got to change it.
yeah.
It's like the new custody model.
Oh, don't get me started.
Oh, we can get started if you want. That watch captain, oh my God. Please, if you get hold of him, I think, I don't know. That dude needs some reposing.
I've got plans.
Has he?
I've got plans for it.
Okay.
That's exciting.
I've already looked at it and gone,
I'm interested to see where you go with it.
Is there a scaling issue with him as well?
I think his proportions are off for me. I've touched on this a couple of times on Twitch. I get fired up about a little bit. There's a model for the Stormcast Eternals called Bastian Cartelos. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he's like the big dude for the Stormcast. And he's just like striding forward with a Warhammer. And he's got like proportionate limbs. Like his arms are the size they're meant to be. And for whatever reason, I think the Custodes in their regular armor, not the Alaris. The Alaris are cool. Their proportions seem correct for me, but the other Custodes, for whatever reason, just seem a little bit squat to me. They're just got a little bit of Leagues of Votan about them.
Just a different era of sculptors and designs, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think they've just made this one to match the others.
Yeah, yes, I agree. It does. It's not. Yeah, I mean, if you compare them to the design aesthetic of all the new Terminators and the Primaris, there's, I think this new Custodes is just made to, gel nicely with the rest of the team.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of that discussion we had. It might have been with Heresy for Heretics when we were talking about why the Primaris law made everyone upset. And this is like, do you not just release it with new scaling and just be like, hey,
this is Space Marines.
It's just new scaling to keep in line with the future of the Custodes.
Yeah.
Like instead of going backwards almost.
They did it with Stormcast. So they changed the armor completely. So there was like the first iteration of Stormcast Eternals, and they were a little bit thicker. They were still cool models, but then they came out with this new, thinner, sleeker, more proportionate armor. So I feel they could. I think they could have done that with this guy, and I don't.
Was
think
there
really
like a law change around it, or they just
no
rolled it
law
out?
whatsoever? They're just like,
There you go.
these are the guys.
Yeah.
And I think they could have done that with this Custodian. I don't think anyone would have really said anything.
I don't think anyone would have been upset if they true scaled it.
Yeah, and the weird thing is he's on I think he's on a 40 mil base, and they just make him bigger. Just make him bigger. Put him on a 50, make him a big fella. They're meant to be like
The elite.
the Emperor's
They're
finest.
the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Matt will fix it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you do with it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Be a cool one.
I'll fix it by not using that model.
This is what you could have done.
For starters. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Desolators kind of turned out a bit like that as well, didn't you? They're like, this is sort of a potential of what a Desolator could look like.
Yeah.
I like that idea of the Warhammer community kit bashing to make models. Like, and you do it yourself as well with your models. You make them how you want them to look. I love that, the community doesn't necessarily just sit to the exact original sculpts. How does that go with gameplay though? Like, how would Matt go rolling out
some stuff? A majority of the time, it's sort of just around the base size, and I think Desolators are on 40s anyway. So your guy looks like he's on a 40. So if you were ever to make it to a tabletop, I think that would be fine.
He's tabletop legal.
Yeah. A lot of it's just to do with base size. So it's a lot of the time you sort of model for advantage and model for disadvantage. Lockie's a good example. He's got some inceptors. He doesn't like the stems on the inceptors. They're like jump pack dudes.
Yeah.
And he has removed them. So he's now got a bunch of guys with Gravis legs on the ground with the two big bolters and the jump packs, which, so his guys can't see as high anymore, but other people can't see them. So there's advantages and disadvantages.
So
and I think a lot of the time it's sort of up to TOs to be like, you can't be doing that.
Yeah.
But you got casual games, most of the time it's pretty fun.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was curious if you did grow the revilers to a certain level where you wanted to play with them, how you would go.
My perfect world wish list from a Maddie's Minis would be a Necromunda gang. That's what I'd love to see.
A Maddie's Minis Necromunda
gang. Yeah.
Gang.
Yeah, I don't know, whichever gang, like for me, Necromunda really suits someone that spends a lot of time on models because you don't need to paint a heap. Like you basically paint up 7 guys and you got a Necromunda gang. You're done.
That's your gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can add to it and you can go really in depth with the sort of elements you add to them and the characters and the weapon loadouts, sort of like what you do with the Desolators, but with gangs. So you have you might just have a young juvenile gang member that's joined the gang, but you add all this flavor to them and give them a backstory and give them a different loadout. Like they might be lost an arm, so you have to try and find robotic arms and stuff.
That's really cool. So there's no there's no codex or anything like that. That's like, oh, you can't have 2 guns. Like, yes,
no,
I
so
can.
they've got rule sets to it, and there are limitations. So I think you can only ever have 3 weapons on a model, but the amount of customization you can do for Necromunda is fantastic. Like I do little tweaks here and there and pick bits from different kits. I've joined Astra Militarum kits with Van Sar kits and Astra Militarum onto Goliath, giving him like a big gas canister on the back of a flamer dude. And again, my kit bashing skills limit what I can achieve. So I try and stay within an area that I feel like I'm comfortable with and will still look good and make sense. Like I don't push my kit bashing to the extreme. I sort of like nudge it a little bit forward, and then I'm like, I'm comfortable with using a little bit of green stuff here now. So
yeah,
and Necromunda is fantastic for that. Real good.
Yeah. What gang do you think would suit a Maddie's Minis model?
Corpse Chronicle.
What's the What's the
or Palanite Enforcers?
I was going to say the Palanites. That was my first thought. Was the Palanite
Corpse Grinder or Palanite Enforcers? I think would be awesome because the Palanite would suit sort of that grayscale that you do with the revilers. Revilers. With the revilers, that would suit them very well. And then, I mean, you've seen your World Eater, so
they've got a very dread aesthetic to them, don't they?
Yeah, Well, the whole scene of Necromunda itself has a Judge Dredd sort of post-apocalyptic world vibe.
As if he needs any more projects.
There's a waiting list. It's up to 5 years at the moment at the rate I'm going.
Yeah. I plan forward too. I plan forward as well.
Yeah,
it's like cool. I want to paint a second army, but I've got like another 12 months of Blood Angels to paint before I could start that second army.
Yeah. That's the backstory and things you can do for Necromunda. You bring that to your models a little bit, don't you? You give them sort of names and
Yeah,
And-
I give them 80s action hero names.
yeah.
Is one of them Lance? Was there a Sergeant? Was it Sergeant Lance?
There's what have I got? I've got Cobretti from Cobra. Got who else have I got?
Is there a
The two-
fox? Is there a fox in there?
The two latest guys are Drake and Apone.
Drake. Is Sergeant Drake?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Apone, Sergeant Apone, and Drake. So you can see where I'm going with this. You'll probably get a Hudson and a Hicks as well at some point. But there's Matrix. Matrix is from Commando.
Do you find making these backstories gives you a little bit of motivation?
Yeah,
Because you become even more attached to that model?
Yeah, it's cool. I like giving them. I like putting a little story. It's like an in joke. It's my own little in joke. It's not. They don't. Because I don't play and I love the lore, but like. This is my world. I'll just kind of give them my own little backstory and yeah, it does. It does motivate me to make another just so I can use a name and go, oh, I need a Vasquez. Or
Yeah. So do you develop this character in your mind first, and then go about thinking about, oh, how am I going to now build this guy? What do I need for him?
It's so the character kind of happens and it's like it's looking a bit like such and such from this movie. Cool. I'll just that's it now. it's that guy and that's who he's going to be. And then as I paint it or as I continue, it's like maybe subconsciously they start to grow a bit into that character.
Yeah.
Without me knowing. It's like, oh, I really did do a Arnold Schwarzenegger's,
Yeah, so as you're building it, it sort of reminds you of someone, and you're like, oh yeah. Do you find, because how do you keep your dedication going? This is something that we always talk about on the show, and just I think in hobby in general, it's like an ongoing battle, is like keeping that motivation and that dedication going. Is there anything that are you just after that thrill of completing the model? Is that kind of what drives you, or if you had to think about what your main motivating factors would be?
Yeah, I love finishing models. Because it's a long time between finished models. So yeah, something has to keep me going. I don't know. I think the outlet itself is something that I look forward to at the end or the middle of a day. I think it's just it is a really good outlet for me that I crave. So I'll paint, I'll have a session. Is there anything specific that's making me want to? Not really, other than I've got time. I'm gonna paint, and it's gonna make me feel
you said
good.
it was. You said earlier it was like a meditative outlet for you. Has that? Yeah. Do you think that helps you? It's that you see it as like a positive release sort of thing. You're calming your mind and.
Definitely.
Do you think that's something that draws you to it, to motivate you to do it more? Like, you might not be like, oh man, I'm super stressed, I need to paint. But do you think there's just something maybe in your subconscious that's like, I don't know, that like it's almost becomes a meditative habit in terms of, like, I'm sure if people get into actual meditation, there is like a time you would do your like you sit down and do your actual meditation, and I don't see painting as any different. In a way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. I think if there's like a noise in the back of your head, and that noise is like, stress or thoughts of the day or anxiety or just anything that's just a noise that won't go away, and then as soon as you paint and that noise goes away, it's like crack.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is just so calming, and then you just can't wait to come back to it.
A little bit of nirvana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very spiritual. But yeah, and then but definitely I'll look at a model that's on my desk and know that, oh, I just have to do a bit of this, and then that sub assembly will be done. That's getting through those little milestones of a mini is that pushes me as well.
I have noticed in your work in progress shots, and it's just from flicking through, you'll focus on specific areas. So you'll paint the whole head of a model
I always paint the head first
before you move on to going everywhere
Yeah.
else.
I didn't always paint I think like everyone, faces and heads was a bit scary to paint, and same with I forced myself to learn how to paint heads. I put a dozen heads on wires to just get through, and so I did, and when I was comfortable with painting faces, it just became my thing where I would just start with the face, and then it's something about the character or the personality of that mini would be born from the face, and then it would just look at me on the table as I'm painting the rest of it. But I think that's an important point because I didn't intend for it to be like that, but painting the face or the head first is like giving birth to this character, and that was important to have a character and a story.
Brings the model alive.
Bring it to life, and then I start armoring it with legs, feet, all the other bits. So yeah, I think that's where it starts for me.
I like that. That's a cool way to do it. Really, yeah. Because like with what I'm painting at the moment, I haven't painted the head yet, and I'm like, I don't really want to paint the head right now, because I'm still learning to paint. Like I'm not a very good painter, so I'm really happy with how the body's turned out, and I don't want to screw up the head.
It can be so daunting because you want that head, because it is the focal point of the mini. When you paint a face and it's a human face, and there's eyes and there's an expression, that's the first thing you connect with a mini. So you're always thinking, I want that to be the best. That has to be, and it's a hard skill to master. I think when you pick it up, it becomes a lot easier, but it's daunting. Yeah. I think that's. I think if there's any other advice I could give on that, it's I think the head is the focal point, and you got to be comfortable with the faces and the heads that you paint. And I think someone asked me once if I paint tanks and dreadnoughts, and I thought about it, and it's like I don't. I should, but I don't. But I realized because they don't have faces, and there's no character in them. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why, because I actually enjoy the character of what I'm painting, and a tank, a rhino doesn't have that.
Do you think there's something on the scale of the model too, the size of it? Because it looks like you just paint, majority of your stuff is infantry based. And obviously infantry have faces, but would you paint like a demon, like a graded demon? Something that's large that has personality? Or
I would like to. I have Mortarion and I have Angron.
Oh my god!
And I have a demon prince. They're all sitting there looking at me.
Yeah.
So that's next. Yes.
Oh, I'm super excited to see those future projects that you're like.
Yeah.
I've got these just sitting by the side. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Manny's Angron is going to look insane.
The size is scaring me. I mean, it takes me a month to paint a Space Marine. I don't know how long it's going to take to paint Angron. It's good. Like, I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. But I'm excited. It'll be fun. I need to scale up. I need to scale up. I've got some resin busts sitting in the drawer too, so maybe some display painting. That's exciting. I want to.
I mean, your stuff looks like display painting anyway, so.
And on that, you last year did you enter a Cult of Paint competition as
yeah.
well?
The MPO competition.
Yeah, and you placed as well in that, which is fantastic.
I placed and I was super stoked. That's like a big highlight
Yeah,
for me. I got a bronze.
that was your first ever competition, wasn't it?
First ever comp apart from the community comps. But yeah, that felt like a big one.
Yeah.
Like a big legit comp.
Yeah, that's got to be, very like affirming that you're doing the right
Yeah.
things with your models and
It is.
Oh, there's a butt here.
No, there's no but. There's no but. I mean, like it's a hobby, and you kind of don't get into it expecting that you want to be a competition painter and win lots of acclaim for it. But I'm like, I mean, it's really like just comments and DMs I get from the community and placing and in that comp. It's different. It just tells me that I'm good at something. So
yeah,
and to value that and to be, start being proud of that achievement.
adds to your
so that-
motivation.
Yeah. It does encourage me. It does motivate me. And yeah, it's affirming. I just, yeah.
Are we going to be seeing more of Maddie's minis popping up in future painting comps? Do you think? Is that something you have an interest in at all?
GD 27. I can.
Yeah, let's do it. I'd love to see that. That'd be GD Australia.
GD Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another. I guess that's another conversation for another day. GD Australia.
Yeah. But like a crimson brush type.
Crimson brush is interesting.
Yeah.
I might. Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Yeah. Go to it's in Canberra,
I don't know.
I think.
I don't know.
Canberra.
I don't know the painting comps.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's usually in Canberra, I think.
it's Canberra.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Is it
that,
CanCon?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's attached to that, I think. It's
Oh.
had David Colwell and
Yeah.
that judging. So
I still need to go to that thing to try and get Dave on our podcast.
yeah, definitely. Next guest. No.
No, next
Right.
guest is Lockie.
Is it? No.
Oh no, it's not. It's Tattoo Guy.
No.
He's
No,
Lockie.
It is Lockie, yeah. I was just joking. It is
Who
Lockie.
are you trying to wig me out, man?
He'll be right. But yeah, so yeah, you'd consider doing a crimson brush.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just love painting. So and I love improve. I love to see myself improving. A comp would really encourage me to level up. And also just I think when you're exposed to comps and the other just other artists who enter the comps, you I think you almost naturally absorb all these powers. And,
Yeah. Well, totally. It's
and-
like seeing like anything else in person. It opens your perspective, I guess, and opens your eyes into what different styles there are, what different techniques there may be. Do you think you would stick to a certain discipline? Like I know the one for the Cult of Paint was a faction or a unit, was it?
It was the unit.
It was a
Yeah,
unit.
Yeah.
So would you prefer to enter multiple models, or would you do things like a bust or a one-off?
I don't know.
Angron.
Angron, definitely in 27. But I entered the unit because that they were just the best models I had at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I only had like 10 models in the whole of 2023. There was just 10 finished models, but so they were the best ones. So no, it doesn't have to be for me. It doesn't have to be a unit
you're not-
or anything in particular. I think it would just be whatever model I have in my collection that I think I can do something cool with will be, I'll just aim for that.
Yeah.
and if that means that it's an idea like a diorama or some kind of kit bash, and I just want to get into it and make it awesome, then that's what it'll be.
Cool.
So, but I think in any of those comps, from what I've seen, the single figure category is just like it's like the 100-meter sprint. It's like it's the rock star category.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a hard one to crack.
Yeah.
That definitely would be a hard one to crack, the single figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree there.
I'm not there yet. I could be there, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, your stuff's amazing. I don't know. I haven't seen some of these guys up close and personal, but yeah, your stuff's unbelievable. Do you think, what sort of techniques do you use for your style? Is it you do a lot of airbrushing? Do you still do a lot of airbrushing, you say?
Airbrushing helps, just to get a rough kind of light sketch of it sets the dramatic tone of the mini, like where the light's coming from.
Yeah.
So whether most of the models that I do, there's a strong light coming from the top, casts a lot of shadows, and I get that with the airbrush when I'm sketching out and planning out what it's going to, and then from there it goes into it's the process of defining and then refining each shape. What shape has highlights, what shape has shadows, and that's just that just becomes a lot of brushwork, and stippling, stipple glazing, stuffing up, correcting, just over and over again. And then I think just on style, I think what people will probably notice the most about my models is because I like using a grime filter somewhere in the process.
So what would you describe
So it might
as
be
a grime filter?
an enamel filter that's a grimy color. So I started using the it was all the rage, the streaking grime enamel wash. That I just learnt how to use through seeing other artists use it, and that's really cool because I think it kind of ties in all the colors, because you're left with a filter of this tone across the whole model. In a way, that's the first realism effect, because when I think about reality and I think about some kind of setting that's, dusty, grimy, war-torn, that kind of thing, your environment takes over. Your environment is everything. It's the reflections off this surface texture. It's the dust that settles. It's the and it's unifying. So I think what I found is when I use a wash like that, an enamel wash, it lays the first kind of layer of grit and texture and slight imperfections of the painting that I've just done show up in the filter, and it ends up being a really layered approach. So you've got the airbrush light sketch, the brush definition, the grime filter. It unifies everything.
Does that go over everything?
Mostly everything.
Yeah.
And then after that, because what it does is, apart from leaving that colored filter over the model, it also takes away some of the contrast because it fills in some of the dark areas and it fills in some of the light areas. So you're left
Kind of
with
equalizes
a lot less
everything.
contrast. So what I'll do after that is come back in and define the contrast again with another layer of highlights.
Yeah.
So that ends up being the final lights around the edges, the final specular points on the points of metal, and anything that reflects. And if I've got any glows or light effects, I usually leave them to last, because you don't want to just wash enamel over the thing you just
with your
glowed.
OSLs and things like that.
So that would come last, and so in the end, I end up with something that's there's a lot of layers. You can see the layers between each step, and I think that adds to the realism of it.
Yeah, well, that's it. They do have this depth to them that is more like real life type.
Yeah, something that some piece of armor that was used and battered and then washed with mud and then not washed again, and now it's got new, so it's kind of like it's kind of like the depth and layers of the paint.
You're really trying to set the scene with the paint.
It does. It adds the atmosphere to it.
We have spoken a fair bit about airbrushes with Kieran before. Was there much of a learning curve involved? Because you wouldn't have been using airbrushes. Oh, you did. You did actually say your airbrush was from when you were.
I had an airbrush that I used in high school in the 90s. The Badger.
Did those techniques serve you well?
No. The Badger has a needle on it that's it's gigantic size needle. So there's nothing fine or precise about.
Good for spraying cars or something like that.
It's good for walls and trains.
Yeah.
But not minis. No, I used it primers, varnishes, and I think when you're doing those first zenithals and just laying out some rough light, I think it helps. It's just a broad brushstroke tool, but halfway through my recent hobby journey, I upgraded. I got a new airbrush. It's a lot finer. It really helps to pick out some of the effects, especially for the OSLs. I don't think you can paint or achieve some of those glow effects on things like coils and little coils and lights and plasma things. I don't think you can do that. I couldn't have done that with the Badger. I really needed something that goes a lot finer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely helps for jobs like that.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed with the techniques. I haven't used the airbrush at all, but I've noticed that with the social media painters and stuff like that, you do see the airbrush for the OSL is quite fast and effective at achieving like a good glow type.
There is a learning curve to doing it. I've seen a lot of those glows done with the airbrush, like super close up, like literally like a centimeter away from the surface, and it's so easy to just kind of pull back a fraction of it's a tiny fraction, and then it's like it goes from 0 to 100 in no space at all. So it's a practice thing.
Yeah.
And
I guess it'd be like brush control. It just all takes time.
Yeah. And every mini I paint, I stuff something up, and I just go over it again. So there's no mini that finishes unscathed with some kind of stuff up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Justin's a big advocate of you just go back and touch it up. Like that's a skill too,
learning to touch it up. There's so many different ways, depending on how quick you are at catching it and going, quick, get the thinner, the solvent, or the toothpick or the scraper, or like, oh no, it's too far gone, I'm just gonna have to spray it again.
Yeah. So because your style is a high sort of display level style, did you naturally gravitate towards that? That's what you enjoy most out of the hobby? Because we talk about sort of what parts of the hobby that people enjoy, and some of it's gaming, some of it's painting, some of it's lore. There's all these different parts of the hobby. Is that something that you like? You have to do. That's. Could you be tempted by? I know you said you like the lore a little bit as well. Like, could you be tempted into the gaming side of it, do you think?
I think the gaming side, like I could be tempted. I mean, at the moment, the hobby for me is a real, um, it's a real solo meditation. It's something that's uh, it's something that's very intimate, and it's hard to share painting miniatures with socially unless you're on Instagram and
Yeah.
you're sharing
It's a
your stuff.
different type of,
That's
yeah.
so that's what it is. I think that's my community link through painting is Instagram. But the gaming side is a whole different thing. That's such a that's sharing the
It's a very
experience.
social,
A
yeah.
very I want to share this with you. It's fun. Let's do it together. I haven't gotten there yet. Uh, but the law. I mean, I read books. I can read. I can read and
Read
paint.
and
Read
paint.
and paint at the same time.
Unbelievable.
Amazing skill. Uh, I've, I'm reading. I'm reading a Horus Heresy book at the moment. Legion. Do you guys read Horus Heresy? No, yeah.
I haven't yet, but speaking with Kieran.
I actually have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I read Betrayal on Calth.
I didn't know you could read either. That's awesome.
I know. It's wild, isn't it? And I've listened to a few audiobooks. So I listen to audiobooks more now because I just run out of time. Just don't have the time to read a book. I'd love to be able to do it, but trying to sit there doing like tutorials and then doing my live streams every night, and I tend to just run out of time to be able to read a book, unfortunately.
Mm.
But yeah, Horus Heresy's got some fantastic stories.
I finished reading The End and the Death, the last book in the series, because I started reading it very late. I only started reading Horus Heresy or just law books like last year. It's all. I mean, the whole hobby's still new to me. It's like a year and a half old. So I've caught up on all the Horus Heresy, and I just read that last book in the series, and now there's a big hole because there's no more Horus Heresy books after the End and the Death. So I've got a big hole. I'm trying to backfill it with like, random Horus Heresy titles. Volume 32 and volume, because I didn't read all of them. I think there's a lot there, but I'm reading Legion, and I'm not. It's a struggle. I don't know. It's Legion is about it's about the Alpha Legion, and it introduces a few of the characters that like I'd first read about in the Siege of Terror series. So now I'm going back in the back catalogue of Horus Heresy, and I think it's a struggle because I've already read the end, and now I'm like just trying to kill. I'm just trying to fill book holes, with the kill time. I'm not really into it. I'm just. I know the end. I know how it ends. I know how it all turns out, and yeah.
Someone's asking, are there any books on how to paint models? There are books on how to paint models.
Oh,
there are. There's actually quite a few, but
Are there any current ones or just ones that you've got from?
yeah, I got some from the 1930s. When I was a teenager. No, there are quite a few books out that teach you how to paint, but I think that the internet is just such a good resource that. Like, I mean, getting your hands on some books would be cool, but you can get the same, if not better, from just like what you did, finding a bunch of tutorials, finding a bunch of people's paint schemes that you like. And most of the time, the paint schemes that you like, people will have asked how they achieved the paint scheme, so they'll have a recipe anyway. So if you're good at following a recipe, then like that can help you an absolute bunch.
One thing I thought was kind of interesting when I started absorbing all this Warhammer content on Instagram and social media is a lot of the guys that have been around on the social media platforms for a while, like Kieran and like yourself, a lot of these guys will have their own tutorials, whether it's just a PDF tutorial or whatever. Some of them might be on their Patreon, which if you really like their style, it might be worth it.
Well, there's a bunch free on YouTube.
Yeah, or there's
Battleforge Gaming.
That's it. Yep, exactly. And so yeah, there's so many.
Get it up.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many different ways, but I didn't realize that these guys would have their tutorials via their Instagram account or what have you. Like Kieran does. I think he puts up a bunch of tutorials.
He does step by steps
for his little step by steps. Yeah, which would be infinitely helpful to someone that's just starting out, and if they like his style.
Yeah, I like making them. I've made a few on my page, and I've had really good response from them. They take a bit of effort to do.
There's a lot of effort involved,
and I think I'm up for it because I paint so slow. It could be like, it could be a tutorial on that one armor scheme that I just did, and I have enough space in that month to kind of think about what that tutorial should be. But that's another thing. That's another good thing. You mentioned Patreon. A lot of the awesome artists have Patreons who have tutorials, PDFs. So instead of books on how to paint minis, you find an artist you like. If they have a patron and content, you will learn to paint exactly like them.
Yeah.
And that's a good way in.
Exactly. And like you said, it's almost like each of your favorite artists having their own book for you to follow. Like you don't have to just deal with the one white dwarf that you have. It's you can go after, you can find your style that you really connect with. And yeah, whether it's on their Patreon or what have you, like Patreon's a great tool for that. And I think it's funny because a lot of people that host all these studies and things like that, they say that when people start paying for a lesson, they actually commit to it because they're like, oh, I'm putting my money towards this. I'm actually going to commit and do it.
They need to get their money's worth.
Yeah, you need to get their money's worth. So it's like, it's almost like, almost like a gym membership sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's a gym. I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
I've got to
I got to go because I paid $20.
And then the guilt. It's like,
exactly. So I mean, that might not work for everyone, but it might work for some people. So it's definitely
I guess there's a lot of. I think the entry points to painting, maybe there's a bit of a gap or a bit of a hole there in terms of content for like entry level. Like, I've never picked up a brush before. What do I do? And you can't go onto someone's Patreon and expect to find that easily.
That's sort of the gap we're trying to fill, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I agree. Like, if you're going across to Angel's page, Angel Geraldes, and you're like, his airbrushing stuff's absolutely fantastic. That's cool. His stuff's amazing, and it's a good way to learn how to paint like him. But unless you've put in the foundations to get to that point, it's going to be very hard for you to achieve what he's just done when you're just getting started. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's where this sounds like shameless self-promotion. This is where
it is our podcast after all.
Yeah, true.
Go nuts.
But it is what I'm trying to achieve with the ultimate guides. And I know that the heavy metal style can be intimidating with edge highlighting X, Y, and Z, but it's why I try and break it down into a slower format for people to learn with step-by-steps that aren't overwhelming. And then saying stuff like, I'm doing the Dark Angel edge highlights now. Is a 3 parts, edge highlighting. If you don't want to do 3 edge highlights, this will be the step you don't want to put in and stuff like that. So it can be quite difficult for newer people to get in and sort of get up to speed. And it can be intimidating because social media just floods you with awesome painters.
I think that's a big thing. The social media thing. If once you've seen what's out there, it's just intimidating. It's daunting.
It's so intimidating.
I mean, I spent months just being intimidated and just like, what do I do? So I can imagine, a lot of people would feel the same.
I had the same thing when I first sort of jumped in, and when socials wasn't as big, there was a website called Cool Mini or Not, which It's a brutal website when you think of it. Really, like people just voting on your work, and there were pieces on there, and I'd just be like, my mind would be blown to the point where I was just like, I don't want to paint. But eventually, I got over it, and I was just like, there's a reason these guys paint so good, and it's because they put the work in to get where they're at, and there's only one way for me to get where they're at, and that's for me to continue to paint.
What happened on this website? Are you saying that you just put your...
I think it still exists. You upload a picture of your work,
Yeah.
and then people vote on it.
And whether it's good or bad.
It's brutal.
Yeah, 1 out of
That
10.
is- Oh,
Yep.
damn. That's
Cool mini or not?
Yeah, cool mini or not.
that sounds savage as.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Is there any like comment system or
Yeah, there's comment
Oh
section.
no.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
that'd be savage.
Yeah.
I-
And
I couldn't do that to
there's-
myself.
There's guys on there that are like phenomenal painters, and they get voted accurately. You know,
yeah, good.
I think there's some sort of system there. If someone like is consistently getting like 9s and 10s, the people that are voting 1s, it doesn't count them. 'Cause
yeah,
it's just
okay.
people trying to troll. Like you're probably not. You might not be familiar with it. Maybe Maddie is. Maybe you have seen it. There's a Crimson Fist, the Daniel Craig Crimson Fist model. It's phenomenal. It's this Russian dude. I'm pretty sure he's Russian. It's mind-blowing model with just like this scroll work on the cape, and the head looks like Daniel Craig as a Crimson Fist. I'll show you guys afterwards. It's insane. And like that was on there. So like you're searching up and you look up like by ranking of models,
Yeah.
and there's like these 10s, and they are like absolutely
Genuine tens.
elite. Yeah, there was a Demon Prince on there for the longest time. Was my favorite model. Like, and it's still one of my favorite models.
That's sick.
Yeah, brutal website.
That's
though.
crazy. I've never heard of it. That's
Yeah.
very cool. So yeah. You gonna chuck any models up there?
It still exists.
Still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be when I first. I mean, when if I was starting to paint, I don't know if I would. I would have been too scared to put.
It'd just be for lol.
like,
So you couldn't
yeah,
you
it'd
couldn't put
just-
something up there genuinely.
I mean, genuinely, when I was starting, I just wasn't gonna show anybody. It was just gonna be for me. The Insta account is sort of like cool mini on it because you're kind of like going, here's my stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like it or not, but I'll just keep going anyway.
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of the same, but yeah, I wouldn't have. I don't think I'd ever have dared to go on cool mini or not.
There should be a
no.
ranking system on Instagram. Yeah, in before I post my most recent work, and Tiny will jump on and just go like 4. He was just write 4.
Oh,
I probably won't even that bit. It won't be that high. He does it on stream.
I was like, four's generous.
Yeah,
Isn't it, from Tiny.
3.25.
Oh, brutal.
But yeah, I think because your social media went how far into the round 2 of hobby did you bring your social media account online?
I painted for about 6 months. I did a war suit, did some sisters, and then just over Christmas, New Year of 22, 23. Yeah, I think I had some free time, and I just took the plunge. I was never gonna do it, and I just took the plunge, and I just went, oh, this will be fun. I'll see where it goes. No intention of where it would go. I mean, most people probably start that way and just go, I don't know what I'm doing. Here's this thing that I just painted. I don't know, and
Yeah.
just keep posting. That's how it started, and then like this time. What are we now? March. This time last year, it's probably getting excited because there was like I don't know, maybe 600 or 700 followers, and
I saw you at the 500
I'm
mark, and I was like,
oh, this is awesome! Like I'm encouraged. I feel like I
Yeah.
could keep posting. I'm like, okay, let's do this.
yeah. When I was scrolling back and looking at what examples to bring for the show today, I was like, I saw your 500 milestone,
Yeah.
and it seems so weird to think you had 500 people following you at some point, like recently. Like, is that like what's that like? That's like a year ago. That seems
Oh,
so
yeah, it's
crazy.
about a year ago.
And
yeah.
now you've got 11K or something like that. It's a bit over
I'm
11.
spun out. It's mind-boggling.
And that's the beautiful side of social media. There's a dark side,
Yeah.
but there's a very beautiful side in the fact that I wouldn't have ever got to see your work. We wouldn't have ever got to see your work. We wouldn't have ever got to have you on the show.
Just wouldn't have happened.
Because when would we have crossed paths otherwise? Like, it's pretty wild when you think about it like that. Like, the fact that the social media journey can do that. I think, yeah.
Well, we wouldn't be here if, and well, here we go. A year ago tomorrow. So it's the 16th of March now. Tomorrow's the 17th of March, which will be the anniversary of us going live on TikTok.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, if we didn't get onto social media and didn't start doing TikTok, we wouldn't have created this tight-knit community. Well, for starters, I wouldn't have started posting stuff on TikTok if it wasn't for this guy sitting in the middle here. He's the guy that encouraged me. He's like, put stuff on TikTok. And I'm like, what for? And he's like, just do it. So I did it. And then we got to 1,000 followers and he's like, now go live. And I'm just like, what for? And he's
It's
like,
really easy to tell someone to do something if you don't have to do anything.
yeah, he's just like, just do it.
He's got to paint models and stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, go
And then
paint all those
the
models.
people in the community were the ones who were like, have you guys thought about doing a podcast? And me and Mike were just like,
Yeah, this is full community.
I was just like,
inspired,
I don't
yeah.
know. Are people going to want to jump on the podcast? But
yeah.
at 13 episodes in.
And it's turned into like my most favorite thing. Like I love getting to meet fellow hobbyists and like the people that we've met from Australia that hobby. So far have been. It's just been so inspiring.
You've just found your passion project.
Yeah. It's
And
so
the one guy from the Netherlands.
yeah.
And Brush Liquor.
Yeah, Brush as well.
So yeah, if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't be here now or in the position to be asking people to come on.
Yeah.
Or being approached by people to come on the podcast as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a very cool journey, and I'm sure yours is.
It's the good
very
side.
similar,
Yeah, like you said, it's the good. It is definitely the positive side. The community, the type of community it is so encouraging, so supportive. Just as a hobby, wanting each other to do better, and encouraging them to and pushing them.
I didn't have
awesome.
that thought originally from the outside looking in before I sort of got involved with the Warhammer community and things like that. I didn't expect it. I didn't think that people would be supportive, but because it is a kind of it's not a grassroots community, but it is kind of like a core, like you've kind of got to be really into it to be in it. Almost. It's not like, so it's almost like you're one of us as soon as you come into the community, and it's very welcoming. It's a lot more welcoming than I thought it would be.
I think it's still a bit of a hobby where if you aren't involved, people question it. Like, I think as it's still got a little bit of stigma behind it in terms of like, if you're getting older, people are just like, why would you paint models? Why aren't you doing stuff that other adults do?
Lawn bowls.
And it's just
golf.
like, I'm a big believer that if you're interested in something and something takes your fancy as a hobby, you should do it regardless of how old you are, like, and anything, like your sex, your political views, anything. If something interests you and it's like Warhammer, just jump in. It doesn't even matter because the community is really, really supportive. And there are going to be people from the outside that do question it. And I think that's why the community is supportive, because they're just like, most of the time, welcoming. They're just like, look, there's going to be people that don't do this hobby that are going to question why you do it. But we're in the hobby. We don't question why you do it. We know why it's awesome. So welcome. And there is a dark side of the hobby, which we're trying to stamp out. We're trying to slowly stamp out the darker side of the hobby. Little bit by little bit.
What's the darker side of the hobby?
I don't know. Whatever you think it is.
Nah.
Nah. Look, well, I mean, we
We've
know
touched
there's,
on it a bit. I think,
we know
for sure.
due to social media, it's very easy for people to give negative feedback on stuff with no repercussions. So whether that is an example, and we use it as an example all the time, the people that comment on one of our shorts of the noob smashes, which in itself is the people that are in the hobby that I guess, need to take a good hard look at themselves. You know, if new people are getting into the hobby and you just want to smash them into the ground to get a cheap win early on, it's probably not the right way to go about the hobby. You want to be, again, welcoming people into the hobby. Teach the new person how to play, and then you'll get heaps of games out of them. Instead of this one, you may have just destroyed some kid's dream. He'll never come back to the hobby again. You don't want to be that guy. You want to encourage people, and then you've got multiple games to play with them. And then there's obviously people that jump on and just, you know, it's easy to give a negative comment without any backlash. We've copped quite a few on our social media stuff. So I think that's sort of the darker, less supportive side of the hobby.
Yeah.
So
and whether it's hard to know whether that's coming from true hobbyists or not. But I think it's just like people giving unsolicited feedback when you might just be putting your work on online as like a self diary or like a self documentation, and it might not necessarily be out there for feedback.
I mean, it's a community of humans, and humans, we all know this. We come in all forms,
all shapes and sizes. Yeah,
we come in good forms and we come in jerk form as well. So, how do you stamp that out? Oh, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we're gonna continue to try and bring light to that sort of situation.
Yeah, I think it's more just to make people aware of, you know, it's not okay to do certain things. The main one we've had is like in the gaming community when people steamroll new players and it's mainly kids. Like a lot of us were exposed to this hobby as children, and you don't want your first, like new kids coming through, new generations coming through the hobby. You don't want their first experience gaming to be just getting steamrolled.
Yeah.
And being like I think Justin said it on a previous one, hey, maybe this hobby isn't for me. And kind of
on the opposite end of the scale on that one, just little tips for people. You don't want to just roll over and show your belly to those kids either. Like you don't want to just be like dumbing it down to the point where they just like roll over you, because they don't learn from that either.
That's not
play the game against them and just give them pointers as they go. They don't even need to win the first game. As long as they have fun and they learn what they're doing, then you've done your job as someone introducing someone else to the hobby.
Yeah, there was an example on one of our videos where someone was like, "Oh, I played one of the locals at my gaming store and got absolutely smashed." But then after the game, he like talked me through what I could have done better. And it doesn't have to be during the game if you're like very focused, but just take the time and be like, "Hey man, I was I smashed you." Absolutely I dominated it, but this is why, and this is what you could have done better. Like you don't have to be like, "Thanks for the game, sucks to be you," and then walk off.
There was an element of constructive
100%
feedback there. Which,
and and if you're a kid especially, and you're probably playing an adult or like someone that's older than you, that's been in the hobby for a bit longer, like you look up to these people naturally, just because
I look up to everyone.
Yeah. If you're a kid or if you're Justin, you'll naturally look up to these people. No, but yeah, you do, and people forget that. Like, especially as you get like mature and stuff, you forget that these kids look up to you, and
I think I think like the rest of life, it's kind of you rely on good role models within a community group to kind of set the example.
Yeah.
The personalities and the individuals that don't work in that setting will probably learn soon enough that it's not working, and it's like the same in everything. Like whether you're a kid and you're playing sport and you just keep getting sidelined by the same people, or anything. I don't know what example. I tried to play Fortnite once for the first time in my life, like a few years ago, and I got smashed by people. But anyway, it's not the sort of the same thing, but like you want the community to learn better ways of, because it's not like, no one's gonna win some Grand Slam personal award for anything. It's like no, you you can only play when you've got others to play with.
Yeah.
You can't play by yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of learn that like that's the real value in playing it, isn't it? It's not so much. It's that interaction you get
Yeah.
Yep.
with that community club or your friends, and
Yeah.
like hopefully there's enough role modeling in there to kind of just instill that into people.
Yeah.
That's all that you can hope for.
Yeah. And like you said, you've probably had amazing people reach out to you with questions, and I'm sure like obviously with talking to you here for an hour or so, like I see the type of person you are. 2 hours. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Very-
we're at 2 now.
Very, very, very helpful, and very like I feel like you would be a great role model in this community. It's so good to have you in Melbourne and know that that's what is sort of inspiring the Melbourne painting scene.
That's very lovely of you to say.
Yeah.
Mike.
Well, it's how it is though. So hopefully, like, and Justin as well. Hopefully, you guys realize that, and like you are now, inspiration to other people that are going to come up and want to paint the styles that you guys paint. So, and I see you with it as well, Justin. You try to get back to everyone if they want feedback. What sort of feedback do you want? And you'll have people approaching you as well, same as Justin has. Like,
I mean, it's no skin off my back, and it's like feedback, and if you ask for it, it's
Doesn't
like,
cost you anything.
Doesn't cost you anything. Like, when I learnt off others, why if I've got something to share, why not? Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
It's yeah.
fantastic. Well, we probably have gone.
Yeah, it is 2 hours.
That's 2 hours. Yeah,
It's a big
so
one.
I think we'll bring it to a close.
Yeah.
As always, thank you everyone that's tuned in on Twitch to see us live, and
Thanks, guys.
everyone watching us later across YouTube and the streaming services
Yeah, we'll be on. We're going to be in 2 hours doing some painting. So,
on Twitch.
yep.
Yeah, back on Twitch.
Yep.
Massive thank you to Maddie's Minis
Thanks,
for
mate.
joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure.
And thank you to Justin, BFG Justin, as always.
We've got Lockie episode 14.
Episode 14. Yeah.
We'll talk about some competitive gaming with that guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be an interesting chat because
Well, he's got some announcements.
He's been making some moves. He's been making moves.
some moves in the gaming community. So
Yep.
that'll be very exciting. But until then, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you guys.
See ya.